Hey everyone, welcome to the WNP podcast. This is a show where a bunch of idiots discuss all things sports. From crazy predictions to juicy trade rumors, it's all for fun and for the love of the game. Thanks so much for stopping by, and as always, we're not professionals. Hello everyone, welcome to the WNP podcast. I am your host, Mike Mitchelson, and joining me today, as always, my co-host Chase Crawshaw. How you doing today, Chase?
Doing relatively swell. Just in quarantine, locked up, dying on the inside a little bit, but hanging in there. How about you?
Not too shabby, and joining us today, a special guest, newly 21-year-old Graham Weaver. How you doing, Graham?
I'm doing great. How are you? I loved spending my birthday in quarantine. It was unique. It was incredibly exciting, and I would never want to do it again.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, 21st birthday, you gotta love being quarantined instead of going out to the bar with your friends or getting absolutely wasted in someone's basement, or just all the fun 21-year-old birthday stuff that you could choose. You'd rather quarantine. So I think that would probably be one of the best birthdays of all time. So good job on that. Happy birthday, of course. But today we are continuing on with our NFL draft series. And today, in store for you guys, we're going to do our top 5 running backs coming out of this draft class. And then we will continue along with picks 11 through 15 for the upcoming NFL draft. We've done 1 through 10 already. They've been on 3 different episodes. You can find them on our YouTube channel. I think 1 through 3 were actually on our SoundCloud, so we can link that. But make sure you guys go back and check those out if you haven't already. But first off, we're going to start with our running back rankings. So Chase and Graham, how this is going to work is we're going to give our top 5. I'm going to just name them off, maybe talk about just briefly what you like about the player. Then we're going to pit those guys against 10 current NFL starting running backs. You have to choose. Who would you rather have, the guy coming out of the draft or the guy that's currently in the NFL? So I kind of have a feeling we're going to have maybe 3 or 4 of the same names. So let's start off with number 5. Graham, will have you reveal first. Then we'll have Chase. Then I'll reveal. Then we'll go him versus the top 10. And then we'll go from 4, 3, 2, 1. Just like that. So, Graham, first up, your number 5 running back coming out of this draft class is who?
My number 5 running back coming out of this draft is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Okay. I think he's much more of a passing back than a pure running back, but he worked in a good NFL style offense at LSU, so I think he's going to be a good NFL running back.
Yeah, for sure. And Chase, your number 5?
My number 5 might be a little bit of a shocker, as he is further down the board in a lot of people's eyes, but I think A.J. Dillon is going to be an extremely efficient NFL running back, and not a lot of people have a lot of hype on him because he's a slower guy. He's massive at 6'2", 247. That's borderline fullback, but he still cracked the 4.5s. In his 40 time, he's still someone who has some speed and he's just got some pure power. I think he is going to be a tremendous player in an NFL system.
Yeah, and I was on The Locker Room, a brand new podcast. I was a guest over there, and we did our top 5 running backs over there. I had A.J. Dillon as my number 5. I'm going to switch it up on this show. I'm going to go Eno Benjamin. He's, again, a little bit more down like A.J. Dillon. He's a little bit more down the board from Arizona State. A smaller guy, but he kind of reminds me of a Devin Singletary, a guy that's very elusive, can break tackles, and very, very speedy. So I'm going to go Eno Benjamin for my number 5. So different names here. Let's now pit them against our top 10. So we'll start off with you, Graham. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Chase, get ready. These are going to be the same names for you. First up, we're going to start with 6 names that have been drafted in the last 2 years, and then we'll finish off with 4 guys that are kind of polarizing in the NFL right now. So first up, Graham, who would you rather have, Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Josh Jacobs?
I'd take Josh Jacobs.
David Montgomery or Helaire?
I'd probably take Edwards-Helaire.
Okay. Devin Singletary or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
I'll take Singletary.
Saquon Barkley or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
I think I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Saquon Barkley.
That's a little risky, honestly, but I respect it. Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Sony Michel?
Um, I'd take Sony.
Okay, and then finally from the six that have been drafted in the last 2 years, Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Nick Chubb?
Nick Chubb.
All right, so now we go on to some running backs that are kind of on that brink where is he that franchise running back? Is he not? I'm not quite sure yet. Four names here for you: Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Chris Carson?
I would take Chris Carson.
All right, this one's going to be a little bit tough for you, I think. Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Kerryon Johnson?
I'd take. I guess it depends on the offense, but I'd probably take Carry On. I'm a homer.
Okay, and
No.
then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Melvin Gordon,
Melvin Gordon.
and then finally Austin Eckler or Clyde
Austin
Edwards-Helaire.
Eckler.
Alrighty, perfect. So, again, he's your number 5 back. So I didn't expect him to be taking over too many players, but he did take the cake from one or two people in that group. So Chase, we now move on to you. This is AJ Dillon versus Josh Jacobs. Who you taking?
Josh Jacobs.
Dave Montgomery,
Give me AJ Dillon, honestly, personally.
Devin Singletary,
Devin Singletary.
Saquon Barkley,
Saquon, obviously.
Sony Michel.
Honestly, give me AJ Dillon. I'm not a big Sony guy. He just doesn't do it for me. I don't think he's good enough to be a team's franchise type back. I'd rather take a shot on AJ Dillon.
Okay, Nick Chubb,
Nick Chubb, of course.
Chris Carson,
Give me Chris Carson in that one.
Carry On My Wayward Johnson.
I would move on from Carry On to start AJ Dillon.
Ooh, Graham, how's that make you feel?
I don't know. I guess it depends on what kind of. I'm still hoping for Carry On, honestly, but yeah, I'd say either option is fine.
Okay, cool. And then Melvin Gordon
Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler.
and Austin Eckler. You're gonna go Eckler over him?
Yeah, I will.
All right.
Just because, like, if it was just on the running game, maybe I'll go AJ Dillon and like maybe in both those cases. But because Austin Eckler is really Melvin Gordon too. They're both supreme, like, all around backs, and like AJ Dillon, he's not a bad receiving back. He's just not going to be like the receiving. Like you'd be better suited having like a 2 running backs, isn't there? Like a receiving back, like a Tariq Cohen type player with AJ Dillon. So like it probably should lean in favor towards those two, but just pure running, I'd like AJ Dillon a lot.
Right. So you guys have heard the 10 names. I'm taking all 10 over Eno Benjamin. I like Eno Benjamin. I think he can find some success in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be a day in, day out starter for a team. This running back class isn't bad. It's got some good names, but at the same time, it's nowhere near the 2017 running back class, which included Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Kareem Hunt, and many others. It also doesn't compare to the wide receiver class that's coming out in this upcoming draft. So a solid running back class, but honestly, I think there's really only 3 names that I could see being day in, day out starters. So Eno Benjamin is going to lose out to all 10 names for me.
Fair enough. I get it. I think AJ Dillon has legit chances as a starter, but I also think he has that kind of bust potential, which is why I think he's a little bit lower, just because of his size and teams being a little wary of maybe wanting to transition him to fullback, because he's listed as a running back fullback in a lot of like mocks or a lot of like rankings you'll see, but I think he's got true running back ability.
Yeah, I like Benjamin, or Eno Benjamin. I like AJ Dillon. I like a lot of guys in the draft, but I question if they can be day in, day out, 3 down starting running backs. So that's kind of what I meant there. But let's now move on to our number 4 ranked running back. Chase, we'll start off with you this time, then move on over to Graham.
So my number 4 is Graham's number 5 and Clyde's Edwards-Helaire. I think he did a fantastic job in that LSU system. I think he's someone who does have the potential to actually truly be a 3 down back. I think there's Like, I think all five of my guys have a chance to be team's number one running backs, but I think AJ Dillon could probably use a little support. Whereas I think these other four could probably do it on their own personally. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has enough talent in all aspects of the running game and receiving game to be a true number one back.
Okay, very interesting. Graham, who do you have slotted as your number 4?
I have Zach Moss. He's extremely consistent. He has great measurables, and he produced very well at Utah without a lot of weapons around him.
Yeah, the one thing I like about Zach Moss, too, is although he comes in with a shorter size at only 5'9", he does have the mass to him at 223 to put his shoulder into you. So kind of reminds me of a Doug Martin type situation. A little bit smaller guy, but still has the mass. So I like that pick there at your number 4 spot. My number 4 is also going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Unlike Chase, I don't see him as a every down starting running back. I see him more as a Gio Bernard type, a guy that's a very good receiving back and can help you out in the run game, but I don't think he's going to be your number one running back that you want to lean on going for the future. So, a little different in opinion there, but we both have him as our number 4. So, Graham, we'll actually start with you for the 10 player comparison, and then we will go to Chase and I because it just works for both of us. So, first off, who would you rather have, Zach Moss or Josh Jacobs?
I would still take Josh Jacobs.
All right, Zach Moss or David Montgomery?
Zach Moss.
Devin Singletary?
Singletary.
This one's going to be tough again. Saquon Barkley.
It is a tough one. I'm still gonna have to lean towards Saquon Barkley.
Okay, Sony Michel?
Zach Moss.
Nick Chubb?
Nick Chubb.
Chris Carson?
Zach Moss.
Kerryon Johnson?
Zach Moss.
Melvin Gordon?
Yeah, I'd say Melvin Gordon.
And finally, Austin Eckler.
I'd go with Austin Eckler as well.
All right, so I think he had Zach Moss over 3 of the running backs, Devin Singletary, Chris Carson, Kerryon Johnson. Very interesting. And Chase, you even got an ooh for the Zach Moss over Kerryon Johnson. That's obviously because Graham, big Lions fan. What made you pick Zach Moss over Kerryon Johnson, your lover?
It's difficult because obviously big homer, big Johnson fan, but he is injury prone. It's hard to say that, and I hope that he can, through training and practice, that he can overcome that. But I'm not betting on it. So I'd take a guy that's younger, that is consistent, that is mostly healthy. And I'd try that out with him. I'd probably still go with the running back by committee though, in that case.
Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. It's nice to hear. Chase, let's now move on to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We both have him as our number 4 spot. So let's go Josh Jacobs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Who do you got?
Give me Josh Jacobs.
I agree. How about versus David Montgomery?
Give me Clyde Edwards-Helaire. As much as I love David Montgomery, it's concerning that I thought he was going to have more of a role with the Bears last year and be more involved in the pass game, even with Tariq Cohen there. But the fact that he wasn't is a little concerning. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire would be in that realm, and I think he can be an all-around guy. So give me him.
Okay, I'm going David Montgomery. I think that's more on the coaching scheme than it is the player, but
it's very possible.
We'll see what's up. Devin Singletary or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Devin Singletary.
I agree. Saquon or Helaire?
Helaire. Just kidding. Saquon.
All right, I agree. Sony Michel or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Give me Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I disagree again. I go Sony Michel. I think it's, again, the system. Sony's a great receiving back and can get it done in the trenches, too. We saw that at Georgia. We saw little glimpses of it when he was in the Patriots system, but it's the Patriots system that's really holding them back. I mean, how many running backs he got there? 5?
I mean, if he's good enough receiving, then he should just, and I guess good as a runner, he should be able to just tell James White to kick rocks, and they have no choice but to use him. So we'll kind of see what they do this year with, right now, no like Jared Stidham is their number one quarterback, so like they're gonna have to rely on the running game more. So we'll see how Sony Michel gets factored in. This will be the true test year for him.
Yeah, I think you got to put it on Bill though too. Bill Belichick. He's not a workhorse type of guy. He doesn't like the workhorse back. He rotates every single running back in the system on the field. And we saw Rex Burkhead getting snaps. Like, it's crazy. So I'm going Sony though. All right, Nick Chubb or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Chubb.
Agree. Carson or Hilaire?
Give me Chris Carson on that one.
That one's tough. I think I'm gonna go Chris Carson as well. Kerryon Johnson or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
That's another tough one. I think I'll agree though. I think I'll go Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Melvin Gordon or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Give me Melvin Gordon.
Agreed. And then finally Austin Eckler.
Do the same.
I agree. All right, we now move on to our number 3 spot, and I feel like we have the top 3 running backs, guys. It just depends on what your order looks like. So first off, we'll start with Graham. Who do you have as your number 3?
I have DeAndre Swift. He's a great athlete. He stays healthy. And overall, I think he's a safe pick.
Yeah, for sure. And Chase, over to you for your number 3.
My number 3 is J.K. Dobbins, who a guy some people think has a really high ceiling. I think he could be a good running back, but I don't think he's up to the level of the two I have ahead of them. I think there's actually a decent gap between that. I think he could have success at the NFL level, and I think he will probably have success at the NFL level, but I don't think it'll be at the level that the other two will have.
Okay, and then I'll go out on a limb and go the other guy with Jonathan Taylor as my number 3. So different names here. We've got different orders, obviously. So let's start off with Graham. DeAndre Swift, your number 3, versus Josh Jacobs. Who would you rather have?
Man, this is hard. I'd say DeAndre Swift.
Okay. DeAndre Swift or David Montgomery?
I'd take DeAndre Swift.
All right. Singletary?
Oh, it's really hard with these. I mean, they're both young, right? Like, these guys are just recently drafted, and DeAndre Swift is obviously just going into the draft. I'd go with DeAndre Swift.
Okay. How about Saquon?
I go Saquon.
Yeah. Sony Michel?
I'd go Sony.
Okay. Nick Chubb?
Nick Chubb.
So those 3 names we just mentioned, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, DeAndre Swift, all out of Georgia. Another Georgia running back, Todd Gurley. It seems like they keep spitting them out. Honestly, you got another name to look at next year, Zamir White from Georgia as well. So I don't know why there's so many Georgia running backs coming out and performing in the NFL, but it's really fun to see. Next up, Chris Carson or DeAndre Swift?
DeAndre Swift.
Kerryon Johnson or DeAndre Swift?
DeAndre Swift.
Melvin Gordon?
I might go DeAndre Swift here.
Okay. And then finally, Austin Eckler.
I'd probably go Austin Eckler.
Okay. Chase, we now move on to you with J.K. all day. J.K. Dobbins versus Josh Jacobs. Who you taking?
Josh Jacobs.
J.K. Dobbins versus David Montgomery. Who you got?
I'll take the shot on J.K. Dobbins on this one.
J.K. Dobbins or Devin Singletary?
Devin Singletary. I think he's got such high upside in the NFL, dude. So good.
You are such a closet Bills fan. Like, just come out as a Bills fan.
Well, you disagree on Devin
He's not
Singletary?
closet. He's not closet.
Dude, he's like, oh, I'm a Lions fan, but like Josh Allen, Devin Singletary, he's got their jerseys.
I
do not. I love
it's
the
like
Bills
having
roster.
It's like having a side chick, all right? Like, Chase's side chick is the Bills, but his main girl is the Detroit Lions.
Okay. But he supports his side chick more? Is that what I'm hearing?
He might hype her up more. But
I'm only good to my side chick. My main chick, I just talk about how, like, ugly she is. Like, because Kerryon Johnson just gets hurt all the time.
Oh, okay. All right, so...
his main chick does him wrong, but
exactly.
sticks with her.
Ah, okay, gotcha. Okay, so let's now move on to J.K. Dobbins versus Saquon.
Saquon.
J.K. or Sony?
Give me JK on that one.
J.K. or Chubb?
Give me Chubb.
Chris Carson?
I'm gonna roll Chris Carson on that one.
Kerryon Johnson?
Give me J.K. Dobbins. Ew, I'm done with carry on.
Oh, Melvin Gordon?
I think I'd still rather Melvin Gordon.
And finally, Austin Eckler.
I'll take Eckler for that one.
Okay, and now I've got Jonathan Taylor versus Josh Jacobs. I'm going to take Josh Jacobs over Taylor. I'll take Taylor over Montgomery, Taylor over Singletary. I'll go Barkley over Taylor. I'll go Taylor over Sony. I will go Chubb over Taylor. I will go Taylor over Carson, Taylor over Johnson, Gordon over No, I'll go Taylor over Gordon and Taylor over Eckler. So the only people that beat out Jonathan Taylor and mine would be Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, and Nick Chubb.
Fair enough.
All right, let's now get on to our number 2 ranked running backs. Graham, let's hear yours first.
I'm going to go with the one that Chase had at 3. I'm going to go J.K. Dobbins.
All right, and then Chase, your number 2.
My number 2 is Mr. DeAndre Swift, who I think is going to be a superstar level running back. And the battle between him and my number 1, who should be obvious at this point, is close, but I lean in favor of my other one for number 1.
Okay, and then my number 2 is also J.K. Dobbins. It's close between Dobbins and Taylor. And honestly, I've been flip-flopping back and forth. I had Taylor just last week. I got Dobbins this week. It's a struggle, but Dobbins is going to take it for this week. So, Chase, we'll go through yours first, and then Graham, you and I will do it together. So, Chase, DeAndre Swift or Josh Jacobs?
DeAndre Swift.
David Montgomery?
DeAndre Swift.
Devin Singletary?
Oh, that one's a bit tougher. I think I'm gonna lean DeAndre Swift.
Excuse me?
Yeah. I'm gonna lean DeAndre Swift.
Oh no, I agree.
What's going on?
I agree, but you said that you think Devin Singletary versus Swift is tougher than Josh Jacobs and DeAndre Swift?
No, I thought that was tough. I just didn't say it out loud. I thought it in my head though, because I was like thinking that because I knew that one was the first one, so I was thinking that already ahead of time. So I was debating it in my head. I didn't do the debate for these two in my head.
Okay, because for me personally, I think Josh Jacobs is much better than Devin Singletary. Maybe not much better, but okay.
So do I. I agree. I already had the debate done in my head, so it was like good to go.
Gotcha. I just wanted to make sure. I got a little nervous there. All right, Saquon Barkley or DeAndre Swift?
That's gotta be Saquon.
DeAndre Swift or Sony?
Give me DeAndre Swift.
Swift or Chubb?
Give me Nick Chubb there.
Swift or Carson?
I'll take DeAndre Swift.
Swift or Johnson?
I'll definitely take DeAndre Swift. Yes, please.
A Swift or Gordon?
Give me DeAndre Swift.
And then finally, Swift or Eckler?
And give me DeAndre Swift.
Okay, so DeAndre Swift, above a lot of names, above Saquon, or only behind Saquon and Nick Chubb. So, a lot of praise there for the young kid out of Georgia. All right, Graham, you and I are up next. Our number 2, both being J.K. Dobbins. Let's see what we think. J.K. or Josh Jacobs?
I'm gonna go J.K.
That one's really tough for me. I think that's probably the toughest between the two for me. I will go Josh Jacobs slightly, very slightly.
Oh yeah, for me it's really slight as well. I can't see a big advantage for either.
And it's so weird because I was not high on Josh Jacobs coming out of the draft at all. He only had like 200 carries in his whole career or something. But he really proved with the Raiders system he's pretty good. And I think he's only going to improve this year. So we'll see what's up. David Montgomery or J.K.?
J.K.
I agree. J.K. or Devin Singletary?
I'd go J.K. as well.
I agree. J.K. or Saquon?
Saquon.
obviously. JK or Sony Michelle?
JK.
Agreed. Nick Chubb?
Give me Chubb.
I agree with you. Chris Carson or JK?
I'd go Dobbins.
I would as well. Carry on.
Obviously, let's go JK.
Melvin Gordon.
I'll take JK as well.
And then Austin Eckler.
I'd go JK too.
I agree with all of those as well. All right, so we got our number one next. I think we should know who all of us have now. I'm pretty sure Graham and Chase sit in the same boat. I sit opposite. But Graham and Chase, let us know who you guys have at your number one spot.
Graham, go ahead.
I have Jonathan Taylor.
I have I had Jonathan Taylor.
Yep, and then I've got DeAndre Swift. I think both are tremendous running backs. I think the top three, like I mentioned earlier on in the episode, I think the top three can be superstars. The other guys I'm not quite sure on yet. And, Jonathan Taylor has probably been the best college running back in the last 2 years. So I understand him being the number one. The only argument I have against Jonathan Taylor is he's not as receiver friendly as JK and Swift in my mind. So I don't know. I think they're all tremendous. I think they're all going to be superstars. And let's figure out who you guys have, Jonathan Taylor or these next 10 running backs. All right, first up, Josh Jacobs. Who do you guys got?
Give me Jonathan Taylor.
Give me Jonathan Taylor.
David Montgomery?
Taylor.
Give me Jonathan Taylor.
Devin Singletary?
I'll take Taylor.
I will also take Jonathan Taylor.
Saquon Barkley?
Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
Nick Chubb?
I'll take Nick Chubb.
It's really close to me, honestly, but I will lean Nick Chubb just because I think Jonathan Taylor is a better receiving back than you're going to give him credit for. I don't think he's like unreal, but I think he's a little bit better than you give him credit for, and I think running ability is like a similar level to Nick Chubb. But I'll also lean Nick Chubb because he's gotten it done at a very high level in the NFL already.
100%.
Yeah,
I agree with Chase.
I consider Chubb being much lesser of a receiver than Jonathan Taylor, but I don't think he's as good of a receiver as the other two that I mentioned. But I skipped one on accident. Sony Michelle.
Oh, give me Taylor.
Taylor.
Chris Carson.
Taylor.
Graham. Yep. Same.
Kerryon Johnson.
Taylor.
I would salivate if we took Jonathan Taylor. If he was sitting there on the board
No.
and the Lions called him, I would be so happy.
I'll take him in the second. I will not take him in the first.
You don't want him third overall?
No, I'm in a hypothetical where we trade down with the Dolphins and get 26 or something like that.
No, that's what I'm talking second round. I think he could still possibly be there in the second round because I just don't know how I feel about a running back going first round this year because there's no like extremely dire running back situations right now in the NFL in my opinion.
Sure, yeah.
Yep. And then finally, Jonathan Taylor or Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler.
I'll take Jonathan Taylor over both.
So will I.
Alrighty, cool. Next up, I got DeAndre Swift. I am taking DeAndre Swift over everyone except for Saquon and Nick Chubb. Simple as that. You guys know the running back names, so you know exactly who I am taking over them. I think the top three running backs are all extremely talented. I think when you look at DeAndre Swift, he's probably the most receiver-friendly, the most out of the backfield capable out of the three running backs. I think Jonathan Taylor is probably your best runner when it comes to going through the trenches, and I feel like J.K. Dobbins is probably the most elusive. Would you guys argue with any of those points?
No, I agree. I think Jonathan Taylor's the best runner, and I think he had all the measurables to really show that. And then he ran a 4.39, and it was like, yeah, this is the guy. At least in my book.
I agree. He's got so much exciting, like, so much to be excited about. Like, I don't think there's like truly like a flaw in my opinion. So like that's the type of thing you're really looking for in a running back, and he can be a guy who's going to be out there all 3 rounds for you. Like I don't think he's going to, he's not going to catch the amount of balls that Austin Eckler does or Alvin Kamara does because that's a ridiculously high number. Excuse me, but he can do it at levels that plenty of other starting running backs don't currently. So I think he is a locked to be a great NFL running back.
Yeah, and in the beginning of the season, at least the college football season, I even compared Jonathan Taylor to Saquon Barkley, but without the. I think Saquon's a much bigger receiving threat than Jonathan Taylor is, but just based off of pure skill when you're running through the trenches, when you're able to break tackles, I think Jonathan Taylor can be up to that level. But I think all three are going to be phenomenal running backs in the NFL.
Very well could be indeed. And like my only thing with JK is like guys are a little more prepared for that elusive type of the game in the NFL. Like power is gonna be hard to like. Sure, you're gonna go against stronger guys in the NFL, but like there's like a true like power runner is still gonna be kind of tough to stop if they're that great or if they're just like that smart. Or like elusiveness, like guys are a little more prepared to control it. So I just want to see if JK's transition to the NFL is going to be good enough or not, because I'm just a little like weary for whatever reason that it might not be.
Okay, very interesting. Let's now move on off of the running back topic and move on to our final little segment here, and that's going to be continuing on our draft preview, our little mock draft, if you want to call it that. We are going through picks 11 through 15 here. Now remember, of course, the 13th pick, which used to belong to the Colts, now belongs to the 49ers, as the 49ers traded DeForest Buckner to the Colts for that selection. But let's now get into our number 11 overall pick. This is the New York Jets. Who do you guys think the Jets should target here with this 11th overall pick? If you want to throw out a name, that'd be great. If not, give me a position for sure. Graham, let's start with you.
All right. Well, I obviously wasn't here for the episode for the last draft picks. Yeah, 7 through 10. So I'm not sure where you had guys going. But I had the Jets going with Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa. They need a franchise tackle. Now the thing is, I think that they could also possibly go receiver because they lost Robbie Anderson. But it is a deep enough class where they should go offensive tackle in the first round and then leave wide receiver for the rounds after that.
All right, and Chase, your thoughts on the Jets selection?
I think personally it's a lock that the Jets go receiver in the first round. I think that receiver will be CeeDee Lamb. They need that number one threat for Sam Darnold because he right now, like Robbie Anderson was their number one threat, and I really like Robbie Anderson, but he's not really like the guy to be the true number one threat on a team, whereas CeeDee Lamb could come in and maybe immediately be that guy. I think CeeDee Lamb is just a perfect scheme fit for the Jets, and if he is there at 11, which he should still be, like I would be utterly shocked if he's not a New York Jet at the end of the day.
Okay, and I'm kind of like right there with you guys. I think offensive line and wide receiver are the biggest needs for the New York Jets, and I think it really comes down to how the Jets front office ranks the players. If they think that one of the offensive tackles still available is an absolute stud and you need to get that to help Sam Darnold, I think they go there. If they think the offensive tackles that they really wanted have already gone off the board, then they go after a receiver. I think CeeDee Lamb's the best receiver in my mind. I wouldn't be shocked if they go Jerry Jeudy either. So I think both of those positions you guys mentioned are the position to look for when the Jets are on the clock. If I had to pick who they go for, that's really tough. I would probably say offensive tackle just because, like Graham mentioned, the wide receiver class is super deep. But I think either way, those are the only two positions, unless there's a guy who drops really far out of the top 10 that you can look at. Just those two positions, wide receiver and offensive line.
Fair enough.
All right, let's now move on to the Oakland Raiders. This would be the 12th overall selection. A lot of needs on the defense, but they may be looking elsewhere towards the offensive side of the ball. Chase, who do you have the Oakland Raiders looking at?
A guy that I think could really, go into that system would be Clavon Chasen. He, a good edge rusher out of LSU. I think that's like they could really use that. Yeah, they don't have Khalil Mack anymore, obviously, so they can't really replace Khalil Mack. But try to get someone to supplement that. I think that could really help them. Maybe they could go receiver too, as they try to have Antonio Brown, but obviously he didn't want to be there, and the whole ensemble from last year happened. So receiver could be a possibility here too. I could very well see that happening, but I think Quilon Chasen's probably a good pick here.
Okay, and Graham, who do you have the Raiders selecting with that 12th overall pick?
Yeah, I'm going to go off what Chase just mentioned just a second ago about them possibly going receiver. So I'm gonna have Jerry Jeudy going to the Las Vegas Raiders. They haven't had a good number one receiver since Amari Cooper went to the Cowboys. So I think this is a good spot for him to go.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Graham here. I think their biggest need is probably offensive weapons. They've got Josh Jacobs. They've got tight ends who are good. But honestly, outside of Tyrell Williams, you don't have much at the receiver position. I'm going to go a wide receiver as well. I mean, it really depends on who's on the board, who's at the top of the Raiders board. I think the best fit would probably be CeeDee Lamb, a little bit more of a physical receiver because Tyrell Williams, even though he is a larger dude, he's more of a speedster, more of a deep threat. So I think you go for CeeDee Lamb. I understand the defensive line pick, but they still have Max Crosby, who was great last year, a 5th-round pick. Clelin Ferrell hasn't shown that he should have been a top 5 pick yet, but I'm sure they're going to give him another chance. I think their biggest need is wide receiver. That's why I go wide receiver here.
Fair enough.
And then next up, we've got the number 13th pick. This is the San Francisco 49ers. Honestly, I don't know who they're going to take here. Do you guys have any clue?
So I really think San Francisco could go like receiver here, especially if only one receiver goes ahead of them or no receivers go ahead of them. Even if 2 go, they still possibly could. But if a guy like Jerry Jeudy or a guy like CeeDee Lamb is available, they're gonna have a hard time passing on them. Justin Jefferson's another great option. They're lacking that high end receiver. Like Deebo Samuel's probably like one of their best receivers right now, if not their best receiver. And he's good, don't get me wrong, but he's not a number 1 receiver in my opinion. So get one of these guys, you could be set. They also have pick 31, so I could see one of these picks being traded, probably the later one. Why trade for an early pick just to trade it away immediately again? But so I can see this pick like 31 being traded to try to get more picks later on in the draft and maybe some future picks too, because they don't have a lot of picks in this draft.
Yeah, for sure. Graham, what were your thoughts on the San Francisco 49ers and what they may do with this 13th overall pick?
Yeah, I think I'm aligning again with Chase. I don't have CeeDee Lamb going here, though. I have Henry Ruggs going here to the Niners, which is 2 Alabama receivers going right in a row, Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. I think that he would be great in a Kyle Shanahan offense. So I think honestly it could be either CeeDee Lamb or Henry Ruggs, but just in my mock I had Henry Ruggs going here.
Okay, cool. I agree that receiver could be a spot to look at. I'm also looking at offensive line, just in case one of the top offensive tackles that they have an eye on drop to them. I think that'd be a really good fit because Joe Staley, their long-term left tackle, is now 35 years old. He's getting up there in age. This team is still very young. The defensive core is very young, very good. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's still got many years left. So I think maybe you look at offensive tackle. Wide receiver is another great spot. I think you can't go wrong either way. So that would be my idea for the San Francisco 49ers, even though it's kind of up in the air, honestly, because I didn't think they'd be up here. I didn't think they'd get rid of DeForest Buckner, one of the best young defensive tackles in the league.
Yeah, it was strange.
All right, guys, let's now pick it up with number 14. This would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who do you guys have going to the Buccaneers here at number 14? They could use a quarterback. I know they get Tom Brady, but he's not a long-term thing. Graham, who do you have the Buccaneers looking for right now?
Yeah, I think it would be really a smart thing to do for them. Like what you said, take a quarterback, whether it be like a Justin Herbert or Jacob Eason here. But I have them going offensive line. I have them taking Mekhi Becton. I don't know if he'll fall all the way here. But I think it would be either a quarterback or an offensive lineman, and I just had them take Mekhi Becton here.
Okay, very cool. Chase, your thoughts on the Buccaneers?
I think as long as the high-end offensive linemen aren't all gone by then, which is possible, but really shouldn't be the case. We should have all of them still available. I think one of them, like whoever's left, the best available, will go here. If not, they're all somehow gone. If they hold this spot, maybe they, I think they might go defensive back at that point, maybe like a CJ Henderson. But I would say offensive line is what they really should try to target. And then if they want to go quarterback, I say, like take a shot on a guy like Jake Fromm in the second, third round instead. Just like I don't think they need to spend a first round capital pick on a quarterback right now, personally.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I like the offensive line picks. I can agree with the CJ Henderson pick if the offensive linemen aren't there. One name I wanted to bring up, just because, honestly, he's kind of robbing me in the way of a player that's going to fall down the board quite a bit. And honestly, this could just be off no basis whatsoever, and he could go, who knows, maybe top 5. But Derek Brown is a name I look at as kind of a guy that is a little bit more of a quiet name, a guy that didn't stand out extremely well at the combine, a guy that may fall a little bit. And if he falls to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think that'd be the perfect selection. I mentioned they need quarterback. I don't think Jordan Love is the guy to go at number 14. I think that's very high for him. If for some reason Herbert or Tua fall, you got to take them. But I would have to agree, offensive line, maybe CJ Henderson. If Derek Brown's there, it's an absolute steal.
Fair enough. I'll give you that. I'd agree, but I don't think he's going to be there personally. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting that feeling. I'm just getting the Aaron Rodgers type feeling for Derek Brown, a guy that's like, come on, why isn't he off the board yet? But we'll have to wait and find out if that happens. Finally, our number 15 selection. This is the Denver Broncos. They've got a young quarterback. Is he the answer? We'll have to see. Who do you guys got? The Denver Broncos taking with this 15th overall pick. Chase, we'll start with you.
I don't like they could go probably a couple directions here. Maybe they hope to get a receiver to try to supplement that talent. If somehow Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb are falling still, or Justin Jefferson and Henry Ruggs are still there, maybe they do the likes of that. I think that's probably the best option. But if not, maybe they just take someone who they just think is flat out best player available that isn't a quarterback. I think they're gonna try to ride with Drew Lock, so we can do. Maybe they try to shore up the offensive line if there's a really good offensive lineman left. Maybe they try to shore up the defense if they like a certain defensive player. But I think they probably would like a receiver here just so he can have a true top end talent. Because I think Cortland Sutton's a good receiver, but who knows if he's a number 1 guy.
Yeah, most definitely. Graham, who do you think the Broncos are taking here with the number 15 spot?
I have them going CJ Henderson, the cornerback out of Florida. They need a number 1 cornerback to take the place of Chris Harris, who left in the offseason. And I think if it's not Okudah, which it won't be, then it's got to be CJ Henderson.
Okay, and then finally, I am going to give the Denver Broncos Henry Ruggs. I think another wide receiver should be coming to the Denver Broncos. They got Cortland Sutton, a very good receiver, but then you don't really have anyone else. You don't have Emmanuel Sanders anymore. You don't have Demaryius Thomas anymore. Deshaun Hamilton, there were some high hopes for him. He didn't really show anything last year at all. I think Cortland Sutton being more of a physical wide receiver, you bring in the speedster, the straight line, deep threat, and Henry Ruggs. I think that'd be a nice duo. Then who knows, maybe Jake Butt can step up at that tight end position. Drew Lock could have some nice weapons there.
I hope Jake Butt steps up. I love Jake Butt. I loved him in Michigan. I was really hoping that he could transition into a successful NFL career. And then, that end of season injury just really hurt him, and he's never really recovered from that. He's just kept getting hurt over and over again.
Yeah, it's been super unfortunate, but I do think Drew Lock needs a couple more weapons in that Denver Broncos system, so we'll see what happens. That'll do it for our 11 through 15 picks. Our running backs, what we think the teams 11 through 15 should do now. That's going to be it for the episode. We want to thank you guys for coming out and giving us a listen. If you could, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, turn on notifications so you know when all of our episodes are coming out. We're going to do Mondays pretty regularly now, unless something crazy happens, obviously. If something crazy does happen, you can go over to WNP Sports Pod on Twitter. It's, again, WNP Sports Pod on Twitter. Follow that. If anything comes up, we'll let you know. We'll inform you on when the episodes are coming out. But that'll do it for the episode, guys. Thanks so much. And as always, we're not professionals.